Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. When the RSS Sansang Chala claims that calling India Hindustan means its people are Hindus, has he misunderstood the etymological origins of the word? Worse, is he in fact misunderstanding the Constitution? But first, revelations by Justice Katju. They seem to have caused enormous distress, so today we ask, is this an essential part of cleansing the judiciary, or is he simply raking up dirt and giving judges a bad name? That's the first debate tonight. And now joining me to discuss how we should view Justice Katju's revelations is former Solicitor General Harish Salve, former Vice Chairman of the Law Commission KTS Tulsi, former Law Minister Salman Khurshid, and one of the Supreme Court's best known lawyers, Dushyant Dave. Salman Khurshid, let me start with a very simple question. Are Justice Katju's revelations about how corrupt judges are protected and often promoted by the judiciary an essential step in cleansing the dirt and ensuring transparency, or do they simply sensationalize the matter and damage the prestige of the judiciary in the public eye? Which of the two is it?
Well, I think this is it's a very complicated and sensitive subject. If someone believes in greater transparency and freedom, one can respect that. But I think that as an institution, the judiciary is very valuable. And obviously, there are sometimes things go wrong, and you need to find ways in which you can ring-fence it and ensure that the damage is contained. But I think that I'm not quite sure that it helps to take one or two examples and then really give an impression, if somebody gets an impression, that the entire judiciary is like that. I mean, I think we are losing the baby, throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
So you're inclining to the view that this is in fact damaging of the judiciary rather than a process of cleansing the system. Am I right in that conclusion?
Yeah, I think it's not entirely helpful. It may provide an impetus for doing more than we do collectively, but I don't think the answers lie in these disclosures necessarily.
Okay.
It could be discussed in the right forum and so on, but I'm not quite sure that they are bringing about any answers.
KTS Tulsi, if I understand correctly, you take a very different view. You believe that the exposing of the dirt is the first step in the cleansing process, and that without exposing that dirt, that cleansing can't happen. In other words, these revelations have to be made if the dirt under the carpet is going to be swept clean. Have I understood your position correctly?
Yes, correct, absolutely correct. You know, I believe that these revelations of Justice Katju become more sensational only because the system is completely opaque, because we never get to hear about the process by which the inquiry is done into a particular matter. We don't get any official briefing, and therefore the rumor mill across the corridors of the courts rule the roost. It will be much better if there was a transparent mechanism of inquiring into misdemeanors,
okay,
and taking stern action. I remember there was a case
can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? The essential point you're making, if I understand you correctly, is that if you're going to clean the system, you must reveal the dirt it is hiding, because only when you reveal the dirt are you bringing in sunlight to disinfect the damage. Have I understood that correctly?
Quite right.
Sorry, what did you say?
Absolutely.
Let me bring you in at that point, Mr. Salve,
Absolutely.
because what we are discussing is...
Absolutely, yeah, that's...
Let me bring you in, Mr. Salve. What we are discussing is whether Justice Katju's revelations are the first essential step to cleaning up the dirt in the judiciary, or whether he's simply sensationalizing the matter and damaging the judiciary. And I'll put this to you before I ask you to answer that question. So far, neither Chief Justice Lahoti, who was the victim of the first set of accusations, nor Chief Justice Kapadia, who was at the center of the second, have actually refuted Justice Katju's claims, which suggests to many that perhaps his facts are correct. So in that light, tell me, is he cleaning the system by these revelations, or is he damaging the judiciary?
Karan, it's a delicate balance. And he, as a member of the Supreme Court, should have understood where the balance lies. His revelations, as I said on your show on the last occasion, its timing apart, the content was important. I wish if he wanted to publish these revelations, he had written a white paper and published it all in one go. The manner of their revelations, the way they are coming bit by bit, it looks like he's trying to bait the institution. I've said this, let me see what your reply is. If you give a reply, I will now say my next bit. This is not a whodunit. This is, I mean, I completely agree with Mr. Tulsi that the system is opaque. We've all had a problem with the opacity. And that is what gives fodder for this kind of allegations being made. Now, the real problem is, are we trying to clean the institution or are we trying to demolish the institution? You come out with a white paper on this is what my 5 years in Supreme Court were, or this is what my 5 years as Chief Justice were. And you write it with the seriousness, with the restraint it needs to be said is one thing. This is like a serialization. I come up with one allegation today, I come up with another allegation tomorrow, I come up with another allegation day after. The public perception of the institution is taking a beating. Okay. And I completely share the anguish of the Chief Justice that they are being painted as though they are some sinister bunch of people who is up to no good. I don't think that's true. I completely subscribe to the theory that the present system lacks the machinery to ensure that bad judges don't get in, and one bad judge is one bad judge too many.
Okay.
But to serialize these allegations in this fashion is, I think, demolishing the institution instead of cleaning it.
Dushyant Dave, you heard Harish Salve refer to the very anguished plea of the Chief Justice made yesterday. I'm going to quote from him. He said, "Don't shake people's confidence in the judiciary. For God's sake, don't try to defame the judiciary." But the key question is this: if Mr. Katju's facts are correct, and so far they haven't been refuted by the people who are at the center of the allegations he's making, then can he be defaming the judiciary? Can the truth defame, or can it only cleanse?
Well, Karan, I must begin in a lighter vein, and that is this, that Justice Katju once said that 80% Indians are fools and rest of them, are not. I don't know which category Justice Katju belongs to, because while I have personally, good equation with Justice Katju, he is very well read,
okay.
He is a very intelligent man, but as a judge, I can tell you, his behavior in court was completely unbecoming of a Supreme Court judge. And these revelations by Justice Katju trivialize, if I may say so, the real issue which both Mr. Tulsi and Mr. Salve has very rightly, explained to the viewers. So I personally feel that Justice Katju certainly is not the right person to raise this debate, and I think it would be better if this debate was, initiated and developed and discussed in a different platform, in a different context.
But can I put something to you? And that's the question I originally put. Can the truth defame the judiciary? If Justice Katju's facts are correct and they have not been refuted either by Chief Justice Lahoti or by Chief Justice Kapadia, then can the truth defame, or can it only cleanse?
I personally feel that it's not Justice Katju's revelations alone. There is a lot that we as lawyers know about the institution. I have personally no doubt about the fact that the institution has suffered over a period of time, and it is really cancerous from
but you're
within.
sidestepping my question.
There are outstanding judges.
No,
they are outstanding judges. But yes, let me answer it before that. Yes, the Justice Katju's revelations do not damage the institution, but he is certainly not the person who should raise about it.
All right. That's a very interesting point we've reached, Salman Khurshid. It differs from your viewpoint when you hear both Mr. Tulsi and Dushyant Dave say that Justice Katju is not damaging the institution. Much closer to you is Harish Salve, who says that the drip serialization of revelations is clearly designed to not just damage, possibly even demolish. Do you think that it is possible to cleanse a judiciary that is so riddled with accusations both inside and outside, because that is the truth if you look at it, without damaging and denting? Is it inevitable that damage and denting will happen if you seriously want to cleanse?
Well, Karan, I think the very fact that we are debating this, going with a fine comb, looking at everything that's been said, giving it greater mileage as far as the public domain is concerned, I'm not quite sure that that's necessarily a good thing. I know that there are issues, and I'm sure that not just him but other judges may have felt it, but there is a way in which it can be discussed. And you know, certain things can be discussed, you get to conclusions, and then the conclusions can be shared with the people. You can't have a running commentary. Everything that you do to cleanse the judiciary, strengthen it, fortify it, it can't be a running commentary all the time.
Can I interrupt? Because you're suggesting that these discussions should happen in camera, out of the public glare. But then would that not defeat the very key purpose of bringing sunlight and ensuring transparency?
You know, I mean, it's all very good to talk about sunlight, but you know, there are plants that prosper even where there is no sunlight, because you can provide artificial light. The point is not to keep everything secret and keep it buried for all times to come. But I think the process of discussion, until you get into a culmination and conclusion, I think at least about certain institutions should have a certain degree of confidentiality, also a certain degree of restraint and care in the manner in which you put these things across. You can call a man many things and get to the point that you want to make. Okay. But I think that using the open space and letting people's imagination run riot is, I think, probably hurting oneself.
Mr. Tulsi, until Justice Katju went public, there were many others who had previously raised serious questions about corruption in the judiciary, but it simply didn't have the impact that Justice Katju has had. I'm going to quote a particular example. Last year in July, the sitting Chief Justice of the Gujarat High Court, Bhaskar Bhattacharya, I believe he's still the Chief Justice of the Gujarat High Court, said in an interview to the Indian Express that his predecessor, who at that time was a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, had taken excess TADA of 54,650 rupees and was refusing to return it. And this was all over the pages. It was known to the Chief Justice at the time, but absolutely nothing happened. So therefore, do you believe that it is essential to go public and attract attention if you're going to shake the judiciary enough to clean it?
No, I don't think so. Karan, I might say that very frankly, I may not agree with a word of what Justice Katju says, but I'll defend to death his right to say so. I believe that let the truth and falsehood grapple. Whoever knows truth was put to worst in a fair and open encounter. There is no question the foundations of judiciary are too strong to be rattled by anything like this. And in fact, this will only strengthen people's faith in judiciary. Justice Krishna Iyer, long time ago in Mulgaonkar, perhaps 40 years ago, said that we are not afraid of criticism. We welcome it. After all, judges are human. There are going to be human fallibilities. There are going to be mistakes made by the courts. But we need to learn about them. We need to talk about them. It's not going to affect the image of the court. On the contrary, I believe that the court will come out much stronger from all these crises, not only Justice Katju, but even if there were 10 others.
But you're in the very interesting position of defending Justice Katju, even if Justice Katju's allegations turn out to be wrong and false. You still defend his right to go public.
Yes.
All right. You don't think that's a bit...
The judiciary can prove them to be wrong.
You don't think that's very paradoxical, because by the time the judiciary proves them to be wrong, damage will have been done to the image of the judiciary, and that damage then may be very difficult to make up. You don't think
no damage. No damage has been done to any institution in the world like this. The judiciary has a strong, people of India have very strong faith in the Indian judiciary. Their faith is not so fragile as to be shaken by a minor thing like this. After all, there are thousands of judges. If a few of them, strayed away from the path of rectitude, well, so be it.
Okay.
We should learn to take sterner action. The problem is only that you can get rid of a civil servant, you can get rid of the wrong politicians, because politicians go for elections every 5 years. The civil servants can be removed in a convenient way, 311(2), you can dismiss them in a day.
Judges can't
But
be.
you can't get rid of a judge who is wrong. And therefore we need to be 10 times more cautious about the appointment of judges.
And therefore you need to be transparent, and therefore you need to encourage people to go public. Now you took the very opposite view, Mr.
That's
Salve.
it.
You believe that this drip serialization effect was not just damaging the judiciary, it was in danger of demolishing it. But let me put this to you. Contrary to what Mr. Tulsi says, all the research done by Transparency International suggests that in fact the Indian public don't have a very high opinion of the judiciary. In 2010, a survey done by Transparency International showed that 65% of Indians believe that the judiciary is corrupt, and an astonishing 45% claim that they've actually themselves paid a bribe to the judiciary. So he may be damaging or demolishing the judiciary as you interpret it, but there isn't a great high opinion that he's damaging, because that great high opinion didn't exist in the first place.
Karan, that exactly is my point. We have to differentiate between pointing out systemic failures. Our attack has been on the collegium system, which is a mechanism which has not delivered. Justice Katju's revelations seem to be making villains of Chief Justices. Some of the finest Chief Justices we have had to function within a system. That system needs to be re-architectured. The architecture of that system is wrong. Justice Katju's comments seem to be suggesting to the people that Chief Justices of India, who were very revered, were actually gods with feet of clay. So this is the important drift which is being missed, Karan. Yes, the average Indian has a big question mark on the judiciary, and I think we lawyers will fool ourselves in believing that Indians think that judiciary is infallible. Having said that, we do know that the Supreme Court of India is the most respected institution of India. Now, if it is one thing to debate that there is a particular structure in which judges are being appointed which has structurally led to lapses, it is another thing to say I complain to Mr. Judge A or Mr. Chief Justice A who did not do this, I complain to Mr. Chief Justice B who did not do this. The innuendo or the suggestion being that Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C was either pandering to the executive, or that he was condoning corruption. Now the two are entirely different. Justice Kapadia, for example, he says, well, I transferred judges. You are saying, yeah, but according to us, that's not good enough, fair enough. That's a systemic problem. It is not a problem with Chief Justice Kapadia.
Quite right. In other words,
If Justice Lahoti behaved in a particular way, it's a systemic problem. Let's focus on the systemic problem by pointing out examples.
And not personalize
Katju's
it.
daily blog seems to be going from Chief Justice to Chief Justice.
I take your point that far from attacking the system, he seems to be making it a personal vendetta against individuals, and that has a very unfortunate connotation. You know, Dushyant Dave, you were sharply critical of the manner in which Justice Katju is going about it, not so much the content but the manner. Does some of your concern and criticism arise from the fact that it's quite evident Justice Katju is reveling in the attention he's getting, he's enjoying the publicity, and therefore a man who enjoys the attention he's getting can't be a genuine whistleblower? There must be other spurious motivations behind him. Is that part of your concern, that he enjoys the publicity he's getting?
See, let me first preface your answer in a different way. Please give me half a minute. Judiciary certainly enjoys larger than life image. I personally do not believe that everything is honky-dory within the judiciary. It is fluctuating. I certainly don't agree with Mr. Salve that the Supreme Court enjoys a great reputation. It depends on the incumbent, who is the Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice Lodha enjoys an impeccable reputation. But there have been dozen Chief Justices in last 25 years who have enjoyed such a poor reputation, and everybody in corner of India knows that they have been, men of questionable integrity who have done all kinds of wrong. So that's something which has to be borne in mind. Having said that, I must also say that judges themselves are responsible for creating this situation. They live in ivory tower. They never want anybody to discuss. I have myself raised these issues about corruption in judiciary by writing letters with full proof, and judges have remained silent, mute spectators to them, which is disgusting. Now, having said that, let me say one thing. Mr. Katju is not doing it because he believes in it. I have no doubt he is doing it because he is expecting something, and he is doing it at the instance of the government, which is now pushing the constitutional amendment and the Judges Appointment Commission bill. So Mr. Katju's revelations, to my mind, are seriously suspect with great respect.
In other words, because you doubt his motives, you doubt his revelations. A quick yes or no to that. Dushyant Dave?
Yeah, sorry?
Because you doubt his motives, you doubt the veracity of his revelations. A quick yes or no to that.
Absolutely, I doubt the veracity of his statements.
Salman Khushi, let me put it like this. You heard in that first answer from Dushyant Dave the fact that he's frequently written to judges with proof of things going wrong and no response. We all know about the accusations and questions raised by the campaign for judicial accountability against Chief Justice Sabharwal. We know about the serious questions raised by the Income Tax Department against Chief Justice Balakrishnan. There's the story of Justice Deena Karan, a whole host of High Court judges. And yet, nothing seems to shake the judiciary to want to change the system. Therefore, I come back. Given the way the judges club together to protect each other, do you not need a blunderbuss like Katju, whatever his motives may be, and no matter how suspect his desire for publicity, don't you need a blunderbuss like that to shake up the system and force change? Otherwise, the happy, cozy club will carry on protecting itself.
I don't think that's true. It's not a happy, cozy club. There is a lot of reflection within the judiciary, and there is a way of putting across concern, which many good judges have in the past, and I'm sure will continue to do. There is talk of the Judicial Accountability Bill. There are some reservations also, but certainly a great deal of support for it. I think that things are moving forward to a much better state of affairs than we've had in the past.
Okay.
But I think that it's really ultimately a matter of looking at a glass and saying it's half full or it's half empty. And I think as far as the judiciary is concerned, it's good if we begin with saying the glass is half full rather than half empty.
Let me put it like this very quickly, Mr. Tulsi, and I'll put the identical question in a moment's time to Mr. Salve as well. Do you believe that at the end of the day, the outcome of the revelations, the debate it stirred, the press focus it's brought forth, will be good for the judiciary, counterproductive, or it will make no real impact at all beyond just exciting a little bit of controversy? Which of the three?
I think it will be good for judiciary, and I hope it makes the judiciary think about the huge pendency and the delay that is taking place in the dispensation of justice.
Okay.
How to spend more time on adjudication rather than on administrative matters, more time on adjudication than on the PILs, because people are in jails. There are 180,000 under trial rotting in jails, waiting for decision of their guilt or innocence.
Very quickly.
We need to give a complete attention to adjudication.
Very quickly, Mr. Salve, because time is our enemy. Which of those three do you think the outcome of the Katju revelations will be? Good for the judiciary, damaging, or really at the end of the day, no impact at all?
Well, I think a little bit of both. It has definitely sparked a debate. I completely debunk the theory that Katju is a government agent or the government is prompting him. I think that is seeing snakes everywhere. But having said that, well, I think the public mood is such that this Judicial Accountability Bill, which has been on the platter for some time, has got maybe a little fast forwarded. So that's good.
Okay.
It is definitely damaging the judiciary because he's naming Chief Justices rather than focusing on the system. At the end, I don't think the Supreme Court will be very much the worse off.
All right.
Except that I rest my case by saying the collegium system has failed is now proved by the fact that Justice Katju was brought to the Supreme Court by the collegium.
that is certainly a little tongue-in-cheek. Let me add, Justice Katju's defense will probably be, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, and if the eggs I've broken happen to be the reputations of one or two judges, so be it. But that is his defense, which I'm putting into his mouth. My thanks to all four of my guests for joining me.